hallå eller? Hero Music. Hero Music. Ska man bli en NPC eller? Nice. Vad är det de säger? Är man NPC?
I'm gonna pull.
Yo, Mr. Jones here. Could I need that green? Anyone need that? That's actually, it's a lot of int. That would help me.
Take it.
You want me to need it? I'm gonna press need.
Yeah. Need it.
Okay, I
For,
need it. Oh, someone, I lost. Bro, Bobska, what the hell, man? You're a rogue.
Yeah, I can sell it to you. It's for the guild bank.
I'm gonna pull.
Yo, Mr. Jones here. Could I need that green? Anyone need that? That's actually, it's a lot of int. That would help me.
Take it.
You want me to need it? I'm gonna press need.
Hallå Linka. Du är en loser.
Fan vad det ser ut i lägenheten alltså. Jag behöver typ städa för någon kommer frugan.
Ring städerska.
Vi har bara städare en gång i månaden. Typ.
Wow.
Så absolut inte grov, du vet.
Ja.
Alltså...
Ja, follow. Jag får massa followers, bottar som followar mig.
Helt ut.
Fan vad vi säger. International and Nordic Marketing Director. Alltså folk är inte kloka som ställer sig i kö när en butik och sånt öppnar.
Va?
Alltså 06:00 Lyko Fab Ship Store Opening. Och så är det hur lång kö som helst klockan 06:00. Alltså fan. Har folk inte ett jobb eller?
En liten överblick över hur många människor det är här nu. Klockan 6 på morgonen. Vi öppnar alltså först klockan 11 idag, så det är många timmar kvar. Men redan så börjar det...
De är inte kloka. De är inte kloka. Herre jävlar vilka människor alltså. Alltså folk är inte kloka i det här landet.
När kom du hit? Vi kom hit nyss. Alltså vi tänkte ju ta en guldväg men det blev inte. Nu, ja, nu sitter vi var.
Ni känner att det kommer kanske vara värt det, eller?
Ja, kanske. Vi får se.
Vad är förväntningarna? Som sagt, det...
Follow. Trivo. Hej, jag har en iPhone Apple Watch och jag tror jag är, vad heter det, värsta häftig.
Vadå?
Nej men när man ser folk som går runt med typ en Apple Watch med specialarmband typ och tror att de är något. Alltså, jag spyr på människor. Ja. Ja. Åh. Ja.
Jonathan är här ifrån Göteborg. Du pluggar till slöjdlärare.
Ja,
Syslöjd eller träslöjd?
båda två.
Är det så? Man blir automatiskt båda delarna?
Ja, tekniskt sett kan man säga. Det är en lite lång historia.
Vad står det i läroplanen? Måste man fortfarande börja med en smörkniv?
Nej, det är väldigt varierande faktiskt. Jag kan välja väldigt mycket vad vi ska jobba med. Man jobbar med olika saker. Liksom, viktigt att lära sig olika saker.
Vad roligt. Jag har massor med frågor, bland annat vad du tycker om den här slöjdundervisningsdebatten.
Den är spännande.
Den är spännande. Men du ska vara här för du ska få skrapa dubbeltriss också. Varsågod och ta en lott. Vad börjar du med?
Börjar med året.
Nu ska vi se här. En partner har Rubikronor. Vi ska se om det kan bli ännu mer. En summa av... där har du redan... Oh my god. 20, 15. Nej men det är 25 år. Oh my god. Jag får rys på det här. Ja, där har du redan kommit upp i en ansenlig summa av 3 miljoner kronor. Vi ska se om det kan bli ännu mer. Vad det blir av det här.
Ja, kanske.
100 000. 100. Ja, det kan bli vad som helst där. Det är bara skrapa. 15, du höjde lite till här. Ja, 15 000 kronor i månaden 25 år. 4,5 miljoner. Får jag ge dig en grattiskram?
Jättegärna.
Ja.
Tack så mycket.
Ja. Vad härligt.
Vad roligt.
Ja, och ni ska precis starta livet också, komma ut och börja jobba. Så ni kan göra mycket kul för de här pengarna.
Absolut.
Ja, och bra saker också.
Ja,
skicka en smörkniv sen också. Jag älskar de där smörknivarna.
Det ska jag göra.
Lincoln.
Ja,
Kan du...
kan inte. Hur gör du Ronkish?
Jag stirrar in i skärmen bara, det är asnice.
Livet är bäst alltså. Bästa liv.
Ja.
Det är ju samma sak. Välkommen. Vad fan gör Dallas idag då?
Jag har inte pratat med någon alltså.
Fan.
Jag skrev till Aladdin bara, vad gör du om dagarna egentligen? Så frågade han, vad gör du om dagarna? Så sa jag bara, jag streamar, och sen svarade han inte. Så att, ja. Jävla Skander har verkligen rivit allt.
Alleged members of a thriving global crime cartel were pinched and paraded in police raids. In Turkey, of all places, which was considered a safe space to avoid charges in America, Australia, Sweden, and New Zealand. Among those arrested are most wanted outlaw biker club members, purported drug lords in the Aussie cartel, men wanted in America for one of the world's greatest police stings that targeted gangland's elite, and one with a $5 million bounty on his head. The Mob Reporter is back, with news on the beefy, wealthy, dangerous fugitives caught in a dragnet in Turkey, arrests that push major organized crime prosecutions forward, including the Anam encrypted communication sting that trapped 1,000 suspects by tricking them into using an FBI phone system to arrange their secret dirty deeds. Oh, the embarrassment. For prosecutors, this catch is a real Turkish delight. Let me tell you about it. The Turks called it Operation Cage when it was unveiled in 2 waves, one on November 2nd and the other on November 5, 2023. Turkey's Minister of Internal Affairs, Ale Yerlikaya, was so excited by the news he used all capital letters. And who can blame him? They netted some big fish. 42 suspects, several of them wanted in countries on 3 continents. Many are members and associates of the Comanchero Motorcycle Club, called Australia's #1 criminal threat. 7 were named in Interpol Red Notices, which is a request to law enforcement around the world to locate and arrest a fugitive, but only those wanted for serious crime. The best known of this bunch is Hakan Ayek. He's famous in the underworld, some of it for things he might be proud of, but mostly for something he's absolutely mortified by. We'll get to that in a moment, but first here he is under arrest, looking older, less buff, and not nearly as happy as his previous public image, which came from his social media photos that made him famous in Australia. It wasn't a secret most of these guys were in Turkey. Turkey had become the Comancheros' home away from home. It's a natural place for Ayek. He was born to Turkish parents who were migrants in Australia and grew up in Sydney. Ayek wasn't a noted motorcycle enthusiast, as we suspect these days about many bikers, those who seem more interested in drug deals than 2 wheels. As some of his friends from high school rose high in the Comanchero ranks, Ayek saw the bikies as an easy path to power, and he hopped on board, if not on a bike.
He's a rat-cunning, ruthless gangster who's made an eye-watering fortune importing massive quantities of drugs into Australia.
He became notorious down under as the so-called Facebook gangster, after news media started revealing self-indulgent social media photos, often shirtless and flexing, surrounded by signs of wealth and beauty. Authorities say Ayek was an ambitious innovator, cross-pollinating crime groups, always with an eye to cooperation, imitation, and expansion. In Turkey, Ayek was the owner of a hotel in Istanbul. It had a cheeky slogan, "Sleep your way to the top." He used a fake last name for the deal, though, police say. It was a new identity he used there, and he seemed to have had a little fun choosing it. He changed his name to Reis, which is Turkish for chief. According to the Turks, Ayak came to Turkey to arrange delivery of drugs from South America into Australia, the Netherlands, and Hong Kong, making their way through South Korea and South Africa, and then laundered the money in Turkey. He apparently renounced his Australian citizenship, leaving him as a Turk, which will offer him some protection from extradition. Another big fish netted in Turkey is Duax Nukuru, who was also named as a senior member of the Comanchero. Thankfully, he is best known as Dax, so let's go with that. Dax is New Zealand born but Australian raised. A burly mountain of a man, he rose fast in the bikie club and is said to have assumed the title Supreme Commander of the Comanchero after biker boss Mark Buttle was arrested in Turkish-controlled northern Cyprus, taken to Turkey, and then flown to Australia last year. After Buttle's unceremonious arrest, Turkish authorities allege Ayak and Dax took over management of the organization. Buttle's deportation, however, was a clear sign that life in Turkey for the Comanchero might not always remain so comfortable. New Zealand authorities had pushed for Dax's arrest through Interpol. Dax was pinched back in January in Turkey, but then nothing more was said of it. Turkish police may have been picking off some of these guys for months, waiting to reach a critical mass of arrests before making a big deal of it. The headliner for the second wave of arrests was Maximilian Rifkin. He was also allegedly neck-deep in the Anam encryption business, so much so that America and Sweden jointly offered a $5 million reward to bring him to justice. I've told you about Anam in earlier episodes. It's an outrageous caper pulled off by the FBI and the Australian Federal Police. Thousands of mobsters, bikers, narcos, money launderers, gun runners, hitmen, and corrupt officials and cops around the world were lured into cutting their deals on Anam, a phone system made for criminals down doors and making arrests. There were close to 10,000 Anam handsets in use, sending 27 million messages through 100 countries in 45 languages. Now that's global penetration. The sting was so successful, authorities say, because Anam was boosted and sold by criminal influencers who made them trusted and trendy. They were promoting and selling the system without knowing they were really peddling one of the greatest honeypot scams in modern times. It's alleged that two of the top ambassadors for the tainted phones, the Anam super spreaders, so to speak, were Hakan Ayak and Maximilian Rifkin. Rifkin is Swedish-born to Serbian parents. 4 years ago, he went wild in a hotel in Colombia. People stood and gawked on the street as the contents of a hotel room were jettisoned through a smashed window, about 10 stories up. He was kicked out of Colombia and banned from returning for 7 years. In Turkey, Rifkin seems to have been more sociable. He successfully applied for Turkish citizenship using a Bulgarian passport in a different name. He then changed his name again to Cem Cansu. Rifkin's Anam communications implicated him in plots for murder, drug trafficking, kidnapping, and money laundering. U.S. authorities wanted Sweden for drug trafficking and
för det här är sjukt. Hur träffade din bror och hans svägerska? Jag vet inte, och det är upp till dem om de vill säga. Vill du säga något? Du Abbe? Instagram. Alltså, hur ska man alls träffas nu för tiden? Om inte det, eller? Speciellt om man inte går ut. Han är inte 1,70. Han är 1,73 eller?
Aldrig.
Är det 75 eller? Han behöver inte alltid vara lång. Kolla här. Så länge du är kort och han är lång, så kommer du ändå känna att han är lång. Fattar du? Så länge du inte är lång, då blir det ett problem. Annars, det är inga problem. Så nice att se dig lugn och barnfri. Det var det jag sa. Alltså vet ni hur länge sedan jag bara kunde slappna av. Eller annars det är alltid hett på mina live. Alla killar som är 1,73 är kortare än 1,70.
Ja, det stämmer.
Jag är 1,67. Så om han är längre än mig, då är han...
Underwent interrogations by Turkish police and brought to court over the weekend under heavy guard. Some were released on bail, but the big fish remained detained. Money and other assets, including real estate.
The devil's going to get you. Devil's going to get you. These were the unnerved whisperings on the streets of Liverpool in the 1980s. In some of the most deprived ghettos in the United Kingdom, the streets belonged to one man and one man alone. At the age of 11, he was a convicted car thief. At 13, a burglar. At 15, a street mugger. At 23, an armed robber. And by 26, an underworld extortionist, making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds a week by extorting and robbing drug dealers. As a former British and European world kickboxing champion, he knew how to intimidate people and inflict searing pain in a heartbeat. All he had to do
Nej, fan ska man göra pengar alltså.
It is me, the devil. What are you going to do about it?
Konnichiwa. For those of you who don't know who I am, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stephen French.
This is the story of Stephen French, aka the Devil. Born on October the 8th, 1959, Stephen's life was troubled from the start. His father, Thomas Benjamin French, was a West Indian seafarer who fled to the UK after committing murder. His mother, Vera Hughes, was an Irish immigrant and was left alone to raise her 5 children after Thomas had an affair with the babysitter. Struggling under the pressure of raising 5 children from 3 different fathers, Vera was deemed unable to cope, and Stephen was placed into care at just 7 years old. His elder 3 siblings were placed with another family in foster care, but due to their race, Stephen and his older brother, Tony, were sent to a different care home. Stephen lived under terrible conditions in the care home, which felt, to him, more like an orphanage. He described a childhood filled with ruthless bullying, assault, and racism, something he believes led to a life of crime. In fact, the care home Stephen was placed in was shut down in the 1980s, with many of its former staff being tried and charged for cases of child abuse and sexual assault. Stephen even claims to have been the victim of Jimmy Savile, a convicted British pedophile. In his early teenage years, Stephen continually ran away from various care homes and got involved in Liverpool gang culture. At just the young age of 11, he received his first conviction for car theft, and at just 13 years old, he claimed to have been burglarizing 2 houses a week. Given his unstable and violent upbringing and role in teenage, racialized gang culture, it is possibly surprising that Stephen excelled at school, particularly in maths, science, and history. His academic-oriented brain led him to experience an internal conflict about good and evil, seeking discipline and a better outlet for his rage, and after watching Bruce Lee in the film Enter the Dragon, Stephen stepped foot into Liverpool's Shaolin Karate Club for the first time. It was here that Stephen met Sensei Ronnie Colwell, an ex-SAS military trainer in martial arts and the founding father of British karate. Sensei Colwell took the young Stephen under his wing, saw potential, and quickly became a father figure and mentor. Eventually, Stephen transitioned into kickboxing and went on to become British, European, and even world kickboxing champion. Although the main reason for the club was to teach physical, mental, and spiritual discipline and well-being, unbeknownst to Ronnie, it was inadvertently responsible for rallying together young, black, and angry men, forming a new generation of criminals. It was within the karate club Stephen met his blood brother, Andrew John, for the first time, someone we'll return to later. In 1981, when Stephen was 21, racial tensions in Liverpool were at their height. The streets were filled with racial violence and police were making many false arrests on members of the black community. This escalated on July 3rd, 1981, with the Toxteth riots. Events were catalyzed when a police car was pushed down a hill and set alight. For the next 9 days, sustained violence and rioting took over the streets. 1 civilian was killed, 468 police officers were injured, 500 people were arrested, and 70 buildings were destroyed. The front line of the riots were in Upper Parliament Street, and Stephen was at the epicenter. He ripped off policemen's stripes and wore them as trophies. He grabbed a bin lid and a table leg and thrashed them together in a rhythmic call to arms. Everyone around him followed suit. Police quickly fled at the sound, and Stephen let out a primeval roar. The devil was born. A few years after the riots, when Stephen was 23, his dive into crime escalated as he got involved in a number of high-profile armed robberies. Wearing balaclavas and dark overalls, Stephen and his men raided a bank in broad daylight and stole £20,000. The security alarms sounded, and the police were hot on their tails. Always thinking 10 steps ahead, and always with a few tricks up his sleeve, quick-witted Stephen was wearing a sports outfit underneath his overalls. He managed to quickly change his clothes and jogged past the onslaught of police cars like nothing had happened. In his mid-20s, Stephen was a regular customer of his favourite bar, Kirkland's. At this time, even after the riots, there was still a lot of racial tension, and Stephen noticed that the security guard was letting white people in for free, but charging an entry for people of colour. Not having any of it, Stephen attacked him from the front, and his blood brother, Andrew, grabbed him from behind, leaving the guard unconscious on the floor. Together, they took over the door, inviting people of colour into the club, and they all sat and ordered champagne at the bar, celebrating their victory over white oppression. Marcelo Pol, the millionaire bar owner, saw what happened and took a shine to Stephen. Before he knew it, Stephen and Andrew both had new jobs as security guards. Stephen describes his time as a security guard as a crash course in drug dealing. Since there was a lot of drug-related activity happening within the Liverpool clubs in the 1980s, he made a rule that if dealers wanted to deal in the clubs, they had to pay him some money up front at the door. Through this initiative, he made an additional £20 to £50 every night. While working on the door, he kept hearing stories of how drugs kept being stolen. In one instance, he took it upon himself to successfully steal them back, and word started to spread that he provided protection for drug dealers. Jobs and commissions for recovering narco debt started flooding in, but Stephen and Andrew had their own idea. Why wait for people to ask for help to retrieve their stolen goods if you could also rob the drug dealers directly? After all, it's not as if they could go to the police and complain about it. That is when his role as a taxman began, where he became a kind of Robin Hood of organized crime. With taxation, you target the bad guys and steal money directly from drug dealers. This gave Stephen a fearsome reputation and left drug dealers shaking with fear, wondering whether Stephen, the devil, would come knocking. To ensure success, he followed 5 simple rules. 1. Never tax the same person twice. 2. Never chase dead money. 3. Never give the goods back once you've stolen them. 4. Never tax someone you know. 5. Never leave physical evidence behind. After that, anything goes. As drug dealers couldn't go to the police because of their own criminal involvement, Stephen was safe and got away with it for years. According to Stephen, unreported crime was the best crime, and his list of criminal convictions were fairly minimal as a result. Breaking into drug dealers' homes, Stephen used violence to intimidate and overpower them. Once they were restrained, he forced them to hear the following words, although his version had a lot more swearing. I hate drug dealers. I hate people that sell drugs to children in their own communities. But I love money. I'm here to relieve you of your cash. If you don't give me your cash, really horrible things are going to happen to you. You are poisoning communities. You're killing people, and you're getting fat and rich off of it, and that disgusts me. The dealer then received very, very clear instructions on how to proceed. So I've got a phone here that's never been used. You're going to call your stash man, whether it's your granny, your ma, your bird, your best pal, you're going to tell them, in about an hour, someone's going to pick up the money. If they didn't dial a number and dial it fast, the consequences were unspeakable. On average, Stephen taxed a dealer a week and reportedly made over £20 million in the 80s and 90s. But soon, Stephen experienced a devastating blow, which changed his life trajectory forever. Stephen met his blood brother, Andrew John, in Liverpool's Shaolin Karate Club when they were teenagers. They instantly hit it off and became best friends, working as security guards and eventually teaming up to become drug taxmen together. In 1991, when 28-year-old Stephen was doing a short stint in prison for blackmail, his cellmate delivered some terrible news. Frenchie, some lad's been killed from your neck of the woods. Do you know him? A frantic Stephen asked, What's his name? His cellmate replied, "Andrew John shot dead in Liverpool." Stephen instantly phoned his mother, who provided more details. He quickly learned that a man named Val, someone Stephen had a brief altercation with after a mistake in taxation, had sneaked up behind Andrew and struck him 4 times in the back. Stephen and Val had made up after their run-in. Andrew, however, couldn't let it go and continued to threaten and extort him, until the day Val enacted his revenge. Upon hearing that he wasn't allowed to leave and attend Andrew's funeral, in a fit of rage, Stephen assaulted the prison guards and spent the day of the burial in solitary confinement. It was in these quiet moments of self-reflection that Stephen vowed to turn his life around. Well, it was a promise not quite kept. Whilst in jail, he gave all his money to some trusted allies for safekeeping, but they invested the money in a huge drugs buy, which fell through, leaving Stephen with £25,000 to his name when he was released from prison. With mortgages to pay and a new family to support, given the birth of his daughter Abby in 1994, Stephen made a desperate and drastic decision. Despite his utter disgust and hatred for drug dealers, Stephen knew it was a way to make money, fast. In a major U-turn, Stephen made the decision to turn his hand to drug dealing and knew exactly the man to contact. Curtis Warren at the time was the single biggest drug trafficker in Britain. The two of them met as teenagers, and it was actually Stephen who kick-started his criminal career when he recruited him into his gang and helped him carry out his first burglary. Make sure to check out the video I made about Curtis Warren. His story is quite interesting as well. The two men had always kept in contact, and they covertly met in Dublin, where Stephen purchased and retrieved high quantities of cocaine. This lasted a few years and made Stephen a huge amount of money. However, in 1996, Curtis was jailed for attempting to import £125 million of cocaine, and Stephen lost his supplier. With the loss of Andrew John still on his mind, with Curtis in prison, and a now 2-year-old daughter to take care of, Stephen again tried to turn his life around. He vowed to get out of the drugs trade and stay out of trouble. There must have been a way he could take what he learned as a taxman and apply it to legitimate business, right? There was, and Stephen built his own business around legitimate debt recovery, loan arbitration, and security negotiation. Over the next few years, he became Britain's #1 legitimate debt collector, recovering millions and millions of pounds worth of debt that had previously been classified as irretrievable. His business was valued at over £7.5 million. In memory of Andrew, Stephen also worked with criminologists and academics to spread the anti-gun message, encouraging young people to lay down their firearms and embrace education. Perhaps the devil did have an angelic side. But no matter how much he wanted to keep his life peaceful and pure, the demons and the beast inside him were always trying to pull him back. In 2009, he went to jail for 3 years for possession of a knife and threats of assault. In 2013, he went back in for 2 years after assaulting a businessman with a pistol, and in 2016, he faced 2 allegations of rape. It seems Stephen was always tempted by the darkness and could never fully stay out of trouble. The story of Stephen French is such a curious one that shows his dilemma between good and evil. You cannot help but sympathise with a lost young boy thrown from care home to care home. You can't help but admire a young man who protested and fought for racial equality. You can't help but be inspired by a man who campaigned against gun crime in memory of his best friend. But on the other hand, can you support a man who enacted violence, extorted people for money, and committed other devastating crimes? So, on the scale of good to evil, tell me where you think Stephen French sits. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It immensely helps the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.
Jag kan inte sova alltså. Jag tänker höra på hur man ska lyckas alltså.
Ja du, GLHF.
Ja.
Gå och lägga mig och kolla på en dokumentär eller något. Tråkigt. Fan, världens tråkigaste dag typ.
Pallar en ägge.
Ja.
Ja.
Fan, boken är jag fortfarande, eller vadå?
Bara att du skrämde mig. Nej, det är så man kommer där.
Ja.
Man sitter här och streamar och så är det ingen som tittar. Hello, I'm watching myself because I'm a mob offer. Böh. Fan vad fattig man är.
Jaha.
Ja. Fan vad soft det är att vara vaken så här på helgen och sånt.
Vad sa du?
Fan vad soft det är att vara vaken så här på helgen och sånt.
Ja. Så livet ska vara.
Mm. du gubbilleban? Åh du.
Ja je napunila 5 arena. Ja nisam nikad čula za nju prije. Nisam čula, nisam znala ni ko je ta cura, ali svaka čast. 5 arena, to je zavidan uspjeh.
Pa da, ali to je možda zato što ne slušate taj stil muzike.
A ne slušam. Ja ne znam nijednu pjesmu, ja to moram reći, ali ako gledamo tržišno, onda je to za pohvalu.
Da, vjerojatno bi, ne znam, u vaše vrijeme bi možda ta prijevička bila Lepa Brena.
Onda bi se znalo. Ljudi koji napune 5 arena, o njima se zna. Kroz vrijeme, kroz minuli rad, kroz nekakvo postojanje, kroz poštovanje, ne znam kako se sad to, kako bi se tretiralo. Ali evo ovako, da iz čista mira dođe na scenu i da ga nisi nikad čuo, a nisam ja jedina.
A dobro, jeste poželjeli poslušati?
Ja sam poslušala, to me zaintrigiralo, jer zašto ne bi, mislim, to je bio i na neki način dio mog posla. I poslušala sam, nije to moj fah, nisam u toj glazbi. Ne zato što to smatram manje vrijednom ili više vrijednom, jednostavno to nije moj.
Možda to modern previše zvuk ili on je previše etno zvuk?
Ma ne znam ja koji je to zvuk, ali zvuk kojega ja ne preferiram.
skulle inte du sova?
Jag spelar schack.
Palla lägga en rutin.
Vi spelar en match.
Orkar inte.
Alla säger jag inte orkar. Du streamar ju. Första feta streamen.
Klart.
Fan har du i bakgrunden? Vad är det för jävla grejer i kartongen?
Det är Emporium skit.
Emporium! Har du gett upp Emporium eller? Som butik. Det är samma time som butik med det nu.
Vi får se. Kanske kommer det möjlighet som munskydd igen, så måste ni
fan alltså.
Måste vara redo.
Det hade ju varit gött om man gjorde lite pengar där. Men...
Man blir censurerad.
Alltså hade vi inte blivit censurerade, vet du hur mycket vi hade sålt. Alltså helt allvarligt, handen på hjärtat. Vi hade sålt för några miljoner alltså under det året.
Ja.
Utan problem.
Jag vet.
Utan problem.
Alltså vi hade sålt för typ 20-30 lax om dagen utan problem.
Ja. Alltså de gick ju åt till och med, alltså våra annons var uppe i typ 2 minuter. Sen åkte de ju ner och ändå fick vi sålt allting, du vet.
Ja.
För ansikte. Fan, det är synd. Tråkigt. Det var en bra start där om man vet.
Man hade haft en
kanske sett annorlunda ut om man hade tjänat lite pengar där liksom.
Ja.
Sjukaste var dock alltså det här jävla EU-grejen alltså. Det var fan sjukt. Du var med på banken va?
Ja, det var jag och du.
Ja. De bara skämtar ni? Är det 1 april eller?
Fan hej.
Kommer med en sån bunt bara. Hemligstämplade. Det är jävla sjukt alltså. Det är, om du tänker efter hur sjukt det är. Vilken sjuk historia det är.
Ja.
Det är War Dogs det för att vi failar. Men jag menar... Fy fan. Vad fan är din green screen? Fall att den är
här.
Jag tog ut en svart.
Nej men den är ju som det min bakgrund på streamen är. Så att du ser att det är svart bakgrund.
Man, det ser ut som en gardin typ.
Ja.
Men alltså hur fan kom du på det med green screen? Hur fan gör man det?
Man bara skaffar en grön duk.
Ja, men vad är det för program som gör...
Nej, du bara tar ett filter och väljer typ filtrera ut den gröna färgen.
Fattar du sjukt det är för typ 25-30 år sedan. Hur svår, alltså det var Matrix liksom. Man gjorde Matrix så. Nu sitter du i din, och en viewer och har det i ditt sovrum, du vet.
Ja.
Det är ganska sjukt. Kanske borde börja klä ut det och sånt.
Kolla på mig.
Jag måste fråga. Hur mycket gillar du den LinkedIn-bilden du har? Hur mycket gillar du den?
Den är fet.
Ja, du älskar den bilden.
Den är bra.
Du har den överallt.
Japp. Alla har olika bilder.
Hur många år sedan var du inte
Nej, det var 2020 tror jag. 2021.
Ja,
2021.
Alltså var det efter corona tror jag.
Det var...
Jag säga efter corona.
Det var 2021. Jag fick inte jobb på nästan ett år efter studenten. Eller examen.
När tog du examen igen?
2020, när det var corona.
Ja, okej.
Fan, fail man är alltså.
Jag var 12 år nu. Ja, det blir bättre snubbe.
När är frågan?
Men till Kazakstan.
Ulaziš u sobu dok spava pošten svet, ma ponovo si bio negde do 5, ko zna s kim i ko zna gde, ma kakva šteta. Opet stari film, al sledi preokret, nijedna noćna ptica nema veća leta, tako lepa je bila, krila kakva šteta. Ulaziš u krevet pa moje telo tražiš, celu noć si frajer, sad hoćeš da me maziš, ma čao.
Wow, this is boring.
Aj da li čuješ ovaj zvuk tišine, gde smo došli ne znam ti ni ime, kao stranca dva, a nekad bili za uvek ti i ja, opet sam na isto mesto pala, ceo život dežurna budala, ali jedno znaj, kad pođeš, platila sam sve, a ti mi dođeš.
Ja, det är nog skämmigt att folk sitter och säljer sig på Twitch och sånt. Typ får lite sån här, vad heter det? Donation liksom.
Ja. Jag vet inte, alltså jag är deprimerad.
Så. Så faktiskt är det blir kul att åka iväg lite. Du vet, se något nytt. Det är lite tråkigt bara att man är själv.
Ja, tyvärr.
Här har vi en rysk proffs, 100% ryska. De sitter i Bali eller någonting och bara visar rapparna typ liksom. Ja, jag visste det. Du pratar lite ryska. Jag såg direkt att hon var ryska. Och hennes, de pratar engelska.
Det står Olaisia Lieberman.
De är sjukt... Alltså många, du vet, typ rural-ryssar, du vet, säljer för ingenting typ. Sorgligt.
That's cute. To cover villas rent. 999 US dollar.
Ja, du fattar eller? To cover villas, alltså snälla sitta och tigga. Okej, jag vill ha ett liv i Bali. Så man sitter och visar typ tuttarna i någon månad då för att få råd med sin hyra, du vet. Fan, flytta hem till Ryssland istället. Fan, allvarligt talat. Ja, men jag stör mig så jävla mycket på sådana här människor. Kolla på henne liksom. Alltså, jag blir typ frustrerad och arg.
Varför du hade gjort samma sak?
Nej. Verkligen inte. Det är inte värt pengarna. Det är ju inga pengar. $1000. Sitta här, alltså...
Du hade gjort andra saker för om du var tjej. Palla ljuga för dig själv. Ja, men brudarna idag, de är för mycket alltså.
Jag har inte sådana billiga tjejer, du vet. Det gör mig typ arg att kolla på dem för att billiga, du vet. Ingen klass, du vet.
Palla tror att man ska ha klass.
Men du kan inte köpa klass heller, du vet.
Palla säger att man ska köpa klass. Bättre köpa.
Jag vet vad jag pratar om också, att du kan inte köpa klass. Det är det jag vet exakt vad jag pratar om också.
Palla säger så.
Jag vet inte.
Palla.
För jag har värsta klass.
Du är inte ens egna kalsonger.
Nej. Men de här kalsonger jag lånar lever värsta livet. Bättre liv än han, de jag lånar faktiskt.
Ja, jag vet.
Och nya BMW, dina kallingar.
Ja, klart. Jag gör soda popping. Jag sitter med 28 000 live viewers alltså. Alltså soda popping har 28 000 live views. Så jag skriver i hans chatt så kommer jag bli bannad direkt. PS5 giveaway skriver jag i hans chatt.
I guess I'll keep one. I don't know why, but I will. It's 1.50 speed, so it can be really good for Rogue Strike, but...
Jag mår dåligt.
By the time I ever even think about using it, I'll have something better. Wait, let me grab the Scepter. Put my loofah away. Shield for last boss, I have one.
Folk är så sorgliga också, de här jävla cockholesen som sitter och donerar pengar och tror att de ska få dejta och sånt, vet. Donera 3 pund och tror att någon jävla streamer ska bli ihop med dem och sånt. Alltså, fan. Ännu är det de som donerar 1000.
Fråga en
Should we
direkt.
skip Mara or no?
Sorgliga.
Or not skip Mara, skip... I just want to skip to the
Yes.
end, I really do.
Fattar du vet att det är det sista de har. Du vet, de har inget annat då. Om det är så att man väljer att sälja sin kropp på ett eller annat sätt, hur du väljer att göra det. Du säljer ändå dig själv, din kropp, du vet, om man säger så. Du säljer inte någon produkt, du säljer dig själv.
Ja.
Och det är alltså, du fattar hur värdelös man är som människa då, egentligen. Vad har du kvar? Alla har en kropp, du vet, och det är den du säljer liksom.
Men man tjänar fortfarande mindre än hon som säger I'm an NPC, wow!
Jag vet.
Säg $7,000 om dagen.
Vet, fattar du eller?
Gang.
Alltså, gör en sån NPC?
Nej.
Tänk om du tjänar asmycket. Tänk om alla bara... Tänk om du blir värsta sån här, du vet.
Men tänk om man får
en hypad
NPC.
Du har ju greenscreen med, så du kan greenscreena värsta sån någonstans.
I don't have time. Fuck that.
Gör det stället då, fan.
We have a warlock, we do not. Okay, we all have to get there. Armor, is there anything I need to...
Den här PS5-giveawayen kommer vara PS7 när du har 3000 followers.
Jag kommer inte ens PS20 kommer det vara.
Inflation. Vad? Det var något. Ska du mera?
Pallar du inte ens en krona och du ska typ säga att du ska...
Ja, jag tänker. Just det, fan jag ska swisha dig.
Och palla.
Nej, men det är klart. För att jag ska låna pengar så det låter som att det inte är att låna pengar.
Men swisha inte på streamen. PayPal tar ju katt.
Stefan. Du får 221. Hur mycket ränta vill du ha på pengarna?
Ingen.
Jo, du får välja ränta.
0,01.
Ja, okej.
Jag blev utsatt för i Robinson den här veckan. Verkligen inte okej.
Tack för lånet, Stefan.
Djupt inom mig. Allt var mobbning.
Du tjänade 221 kronor nu idag. Streama.
Nej.
Tänk dig ändå om du tjänade typ... Säg att du tjänade 200 spänn varje gång du streamade, du vet. Alltså det blir ändå en del pengar, du vet.
Ja.
Om du ändå gör det, menar jag. Ändå, liksom.
Ja.
Det är ändå liksom, vad blir det? Det blir 6 000 i månaden ändå. Det är ändå 72 000 om året.
På att spela.
Då fattar man egentligen hur fort det går. 72 000 och du får in 200 spänn som inte är någonting. Inte ens $20 liksom.
Is it BIS? I don't think it is for tank, yeah.
Värsta räntan fick jag.
chess is more or less equal to it. The ZG chess.
Så är det. Sjögren always faces death.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Hey, look at that fucking arm. Yeah, a lot of stand. I like that.
Fan vad brudarna i England ser trashiga ut alltså.
Nej, de har ingen klass alltså, ingen stil. Men det är de här, alltså det är inte, ska jag vara helt ärlig, det finns, jag har nog aldrig sett så här mycket snygga tjejer som jag har sett i London, ser jag inte i Sverige faktiskt, ska jag vara helt ärlig.
Men det är en stor stad.
Ja, men jag vet vilka du menar. De här riktiga, som inte kan sminka sig långt in, de ser ut som riktiga.
Jag länkar till det.
Men de finns typ inte, jag ser inte de här i mitt område. Nej, för de är i förorterna, du vet.
Och i stan och sånt där klubbarna är.
Vad länkar du?
WhatsApp.
Na čemu najviše štedite u biti?
Är du singel och sugen?
Koliko mjesečno uspijete uštediti, tako išta?
Fy fan. Det där är riktiga jävla trötta britter alltså, fy fan.
Okej, här ska ordpizzas. Jag vill...
Fan vad billiga. Hur jävla billiga du vet. Däremot ser jag jävligt många svarta trash alltså, ser jag faktiskt. Jag vet inte varför, jag tror det finns ett ställe här som de gillar, hade märkt det.
Better hit up G2G.
Det är riktigt fashion nova så jag vet.
Spamming every 3 days I'm going to raid. Just gonna go ahead and try and get it.
Fan alltså.
How many runs is that? If I get to
Och det är Manchester också, det är ju ännu värre. Det var en ganska god tjej faktiskt. Jag såg en god tjej här. Fan vad alltså. Så någon gav 10 000 rubel.
It's super reduced. Okay. When I'm getting to that point, where the fuck do I fly? Okay, so I need to go to Decimus. Most GDKPs won't let you in at 58 either. Okay, they'll let me.
Det är en tjej jag kollar på nu, hon är ganska söt faktiskt. Hon vill sätta ratten eller någonting. Sitter och pratar, hon har 400 viewers. Någon donerade nyss 10 000 rubel, så det är typ 1000 spänn, lite över 1000 spänn. Hon som på typ 30 kronor hela tiden. Hon har 400 viewers bara, hon har ut mer än vad en vanlig arbetare gör på en dag. Liksom. Utan problem. Jag har kollat på henne i 10 minuter. Du är tjej och du ser hyfsad ut. Alltså...
Behöver du inte jobba?
Nej.
Det är det jag säger. Hade jag varit tjej, jag hade inte gått och jobbat en dag i mitt liv.
Did you say so, lol? They didn't let Mitch in? Okay, I literally know Sardako, who would be running the GDKP that I would be going in. Also, Mitch is an idiot. gotta realize, like, it's also not the leader that lets you in. It's like, when Mitch was, like, playing more, a lot of people, they don't watch his stream, but they know Mitch is playing and they hear of him. And their only impression of Mitch was getting priests killed. Like, for the people that don't watch his stream, like, that's all they know about him. He's killing priests. So, when, like, you're making a GDKP and you guys are like, and they ask a bunch of random people, hey guys, this streamer named Mitch Jones is gonna play. Nope, nope. Like, the priests are all like, listen, he comes, I'm out.
Smart girl Sasha.
Like, he'd probably be fine, but I see why some randoms might back out.
This is what happens when the bus driver doesn't tell people on the bus that, hey, if you want to get off at Mandalay Bay, make sure you get off at the Luxor, because the Mandalay Bay stop is closed.
Like, unironically, Mitch would probably be better than most people in GDKP, but it's not how it works. It was Frontier's GDKP. Ampy just didn't like Mitch. I don't know if he didn't like him. But yeah, they're sweaty. And also, these dungeons weren't as figured out for these raids. Now there's a script. There's a script for each raid that you can follow that pretty much, assuming you follow the script, will remove all deaths. No one will die. Like, guaranteed if you follow the script. It wasn't as established back then. They already had a script from Era Hardcore. Yeah, but it wasn't foolproof, I'd imagine. Like, you get people that randomly just die. They weren't bringing, like, poison cleansing flasks for AQ20. They were just cleansing it. Druids would just dispel it. It wasn't focused on no deaths. Exactly. Now it is. That's what I mean by the script has been changed.
You have 6 months to make as much money as possible. All you have to start with is a phone and $500 in cash. What are you doing? That is the best question I have ever been asked in my entire adult life. I am really, really, really good at sales. I'm gonna find a sales job because I already know that if I'm on to my last $500 and all I have is a phone,
gonna be the most
I am
desired
going
class
to
ally
get that
side.
job and I'm gonna
You're
learn
talking about
more
Season of
about that
Discovery?
industry than
Yes,
anybody
it
on the
is.
planet. And I'm gonna set a
Everyone's
commission
going to
as
be
high
looking
as
for
I
ferals, and
possibly
the only
can.
thing that's
And
going to
3 months in, when I've demonstrated
I'm a
that
demonology
I am
tank,
the
guys.
best
Check it out.
salesperson in the history
Dude,
of that
that's
company,
crazy.
I'm gonna walk into my boss's office.
I'm also a
and I'm gonna
demonology
tell him,
warlock tank.
or her, you're either
Thought
gonna
I'd
pay
give it a
me
try and
this
be
amount of
unique.
money to keep me,
What?
or I'm gonna start my own business.
No way.
Selling this stuff. That is exactly what I would do. You have 6 months to make as much money.
Let's get a DPS. Yo, there's a rogue. Guys, I'm a rogue tank. I'm ready to fucking tank some bosses. Huge threat, guys. Check it out. Only tanks.
En kvinna får 81 miljoner views på en TikTok-video när hon tar ut snor ur hennes unges näsa.
Nice.
Fattar du eller? 81 miljoner views.
Feral druids give Wind Fury in Season of Discovery. And for a while it was like, well, basically they brought Wind Fury to Alliance side. So Alliance isn't going to have shamans, but Alliance will have the tools that shaman brings. or at least close to it. And people were upset that it's like, hey, Alliance got shaman stuff. Is Horde gonna get Pally stuff? And they responded and said that Horde will have kings by level 25. Amongst other things, probably later on. So Horde is gonna have kings. Maybe from hunters. Hunters give kings. There you go. So you don't have Salve, and you don't have Blessing of Might, but shamans also give totems. So Salve is kind of a big deal, but with all the tanking adjustments, I don't think threat is going to be a big deal. Alliance is still better. Yeah, I think it is. Maybe. One, Rep Paladins might actually be really good DPS. Two, I mean, Holy Paladins is really good at fucking healing. Sword Racial is really good for, like, sword skill. But I think they said something about minimizing that. I will say, if you added Paladins